Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first teleseminar on overcoming debilitating depression. We've had a large number of people inquire onto the seminar today. Some of you may have actually experienced some of our work before, others will be very new to it. Here at our clinic in central London, we specialise in working with clients with very difficult and debilitating illnesses, symptoms, in particular depression, anxiety, panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorders and other related symptoms. We have some most amazing case histories with brilliant results, and you can see those if you want to visit our website after the teleseminar. They're at www.bioenergyhealing.org.uk, and just click the link at the top of the page which says case notes. Now, we have our clinic in London, just near Baker Street Station, and we also provide distance healing. Anyway, that's enough about what I've got to offer. What I want to do now is to start to address some of your questions and see how we can help you. What I'm going to do, as I said before, is I will actually hopefully lead in, and I'm not sure if all the participants who originally sent their questions are on board. Have we got Judith on board? Or Adam? Okay, well, Judith and Adam, they asked very similar questions, and let me just run through those with you. Firstly, they wanted to know what is my point of view on regarding the cause of depression, and in other words, how would you define depression, and how do I overcome it? Well, when we look at depression, everyone experiences it slightly different, and people label them. And in a lot of cases, people get treated with a box standard treatment or medication because that's what people with depression have. Now, when we start to look at the cause of depression, we need to take it a stage further back and look at what is the actual issue. And the main thing that we need to focus on is perception. It's what we perceive are our issues is based on how our brain is currently configured. Now, depending on how we have maintained our body and our general mental state and health, for a lot of people, they gain chaos and they get into a situation of overload. And we have an issue of irrationality of mind. And sometimes we can't make logic of what is happening, what has caused it. But one thing we learn when we start to look at things from a bioenergy point of view is that we don't need to look at the underlying cause, because we're able to obviously scan the body and we start to treat people as individuals, because ultimately depression isn't an illness as such. It's just a way of listing people's symptoms and grouping them together, and in a lot of cases medicating them or treat them with that box standard treatment that I spoke to you about before. What we have to start doing is starting treating the person as an individual and how those symptoms resonate in them. So in short, what is the cause of depression? Well, it's down to how people's brains are currently configured and their ability and their coping mechanism to deal with what they are exposed to in their day-to-day life. Now, we've got another question here. Is Parveen on board?
Yeah.
Hi Parveen, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks.
Good. Have you got your question to hand?
It was just about whether you thought it was a chemical imbalance and whether that relates to what you do as well, whether depression is a chemical imbalance.
If you were to Google depression now, you'll get so many different interpretations as what the cause of the problem is, and some people will say, yes, it's a chemical imbalance. What we have to look at is the body is a very complex system. It has various chemicals in the body. It has a cellular makeup which needs order. And when we start to look at people when they are dysfunctioning and they're not functioning to their best ability, what we find is their systems have that disorder. And when you have that disorder, then the chemical connections do not fire in the way that they're meant to. So when we look at the brain, we look at neurons, and we transmit information. And those connections do require those chemicals. But when we have that imbalance, when our system isn't functioning properly, then unfortunately the body can't effectively work and efficiently work, and most importantly, it doesn't have the same healing and repair ability. So what we need to do is bring order to the body's system. So when we start to look at the body on a more circuitry level, we can start to appreciate that everything is entwined and everything is interconnected. So when we start to scan the body and start to treat it, what we're able to do is bring order on a cellular level, which then enables the various different forms of communication, and one obviously is chemical as well as others, into order, in order for the person's body to be able to make a repair and thereafter to be able to function more effectively and hopefully far more preventatively. Does that answer your question, Parveen?
Yes, it does, thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Is Vicky on board?
Yes.
Hi, Vicky. Have you got your question there, please?
I think I asked something like, do you really need to work through psychological issues to cure depression?
Okay, yeah, I've actually got your question in front of you. Can you really overcome depression without mentally and emotionally working through things in your life history?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we get a lot of people who inquire about that, because obviously for a lot of people and various different cognitive therapies, people have to talk about their issues. They've got to talk about the past and the history. And a lot of people find that going down that route means that it actually feeds those issues with more energy. And that's challenging. It's frightening and it's fearful. And people find themselves getting caught up even more in what we call the loop. Now, what we need to do is accept one thing. The past is the past. We can't change it. And our job now is to live and move the client into the here and now. And we start to work, and as I mentioned before, we scan the body. It means we can look at the body as it is today and move them forward to tomorrow. Now, the whole thing about emotional and psychological issues, some people are aware of those on a conscious level, and some of that on a subconscious level, is they're stored in memory patterns. And unfortunately, again, our body gets into this cycle of getting caught up in this loop and not being able to break free from these memories. Now, what we're able to do as part of the treatment on an energetic level is we can find the points where the blockages are, and actually we can actually release the memory patterns. It's like pressing master reset buttons. And for those of you who are very computer-minded, there's a program on our computers which is what we call defrag. And what that does is it removes the corrupted detail and condenses all the rest of the data together. And similarly in the body, we store a lot of information. We store it sometimes in the wrong place. Unfortunately, our minds get irrational. And what we need to do is start to look at pressing some of these reset buttons, releasing the memory patterns, but the key factor is we don't want to have to discuss them. And this enables our clients to successfully move forward. It's about being in the here and now. Vicky, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of curious if somebody is unable to express anger, will that facilitate that, for example?
I mean,
it's not only memories, it's kind of behaviour patterns.
Yeah, you do get in behaviour patterns, and a lot of the time people can't work out how on earth they're going to get out of it. And that's the biggest problem. And therefore, by not approaching it from a cognitive level, we don't have to concern ourselves with that approach, because by allowing the body to be treated in the way that it needs to, which is again we do by scanning the body on an energetic level, it means that the person is able to make the shifts when they're ready to, rather than being told this is what you need to address and this is how you're going to address it and this is what's going to be the outcome.
Yep, I'm with you. Yep.
And that is really, really important.
Yep.
Okay.